Well, what's up, everybody? This is Dylan with DylanTalksTone, and today I want to talk just briefly a little bit about guitar setup. It's a little kind of expansion on what we talked about on our radio show on kprlive.com. If you've not seen or if you've not listened to our radio show on kprlive.com, we'll put a link in the comments every Monday nights at 9 Eastern. Please check it out. And there's actually, if you go to that kprlive.com, there's also a replay that you can listen to. And last night we were discussing a tuning method that we saw on the internet, and it was a very interesting take on compensating for the imperfections of tuning setups on the guitar. Okay, because you hear a lot of people say, well, you know, I'll have a traditional style Telecaster and I can never get it to intonate properly. And so I'm going to just give you, this is a little bit of it's a little bit theory, it's a lot practice, and it makes a lot of sense. And I want to kind of give you a different perspective on what we're talking about. Okay. So I'm going to use my Dylan Custom Guitars Tele here, and we're using the Kemper. I've got it on a pretty high gain setting because one of the things I want to show you Okay, so if we just listen to that for the sake of listening to it, it's intonated pretty well. And this has actually got, this particular guitar has some compensated brass barrel saddles on it that we use on some of our custom builds, and I really like them because here's the thing. Everybody says, well, you can never intonate a particular sort of guitar. The thing is you can never really intonate any guitar perfectly, and here's why. Mathematically, just because of the way scale length versus fret length and the physical location of each fret, the way the transverse wave travels on the string, you will be able to get one. It's kind of like the easiest way to say it is you would either be able to get one area of the neck to intonate perfectly or the other area of the neck to intonate perfectly, but not both. It's just mathematically impossible. Okay? And what I would kind of propose to you is that those imperfections are part of the appeal of a particular style of guitar. See, everybody says, well, I like this tone, you know, I like, maybe I like that classic Tele tone, or I like this super smooth, like, the thing is that we pick a particular style of a guitar, not just because of the way it plays and the way it sounds, but the reason, and this is the kind of the theory I want to present to you, is that the reason some of those tones are there is because of certain imperfections. Okay, it's just like hum being present, in a single coil pickup. It's gonna be there. If you take it away, if you try to kill it with a hum canceling pickup, you take some frequencies away and the thing's just not as good as when you started. No matter what you do, there's ways to take those hum frequencies away, but you always clip off a little, and you change the inherent tone of the guitar. The same thing with intonation and guitar setup. Some of those little off harmonics that happen because intonation can never be perfect on a guitar are part of that particular guitar's charm. Okay? And so, and honestly, that's it. So if you're trying to shoot for numbers, if you're trying to get your strobe tuner to be 100% perfect, chances are you could kind of be screwing up the inherent tone of the guitar. I'm going to give you an example of that. let's grab my Dylan Guitars Special here. This is probably one of my favorite guitars. Now, I have not tuned this guitar in a while, so let's do that. All right, so after we've tuned it, I forgot that the last person that played it a step down, so I had to take a minute off there to tune it. So let's take a guitar that is inherently imperfect. Obviously, this thing. Amazing, like it's a monster, right? But because of the style of bridge that it has and just the overall, the way it's built, it is inherently kind of always out of tune. But that is, if we were to fix that, the guitar would sound differently. The harmonics between, you know, particular notes would just change. So I don't feel that if you are really... Now, that being said, if you're using it in the studio and the thing has to be 100% perfect, then you know what? It's possible that you might have to pick a different guitar and you might have to make modifications to it. But don't just run out there and buy parts, changing saddles and doing all this kind of stuff just because somebody tells you to do it. You know, just don't just assume that you have to modify a guitar. We see a lot of posts on the internet saying, you know, that it's I have ordered X or Y guitar. What modifications should I get to it? I heard that they have all these problems. Man, don't even do that. Just get the guitar, play the guitar. Chances are either A, some of that stuff could be imagined. B, it could not be applicable to your particular rig. C, you might actually like how the thing sounds, even if it is a little bit kind of off. That's the thing about this guitar. It's not out of tune. Harmonically, is it perfect? Absolutely not, just because of the way it's made. But that doesn't make it out of tune. Harmonically, and I'm kind of making this term up, this harmonically imperfect, because it's not that the guitar is out of tune. If you put it on the strobe tuner down here, my Kemper has a strobe tuner, and I can stick it on there and I can make the thing 100% perfect. But then when I play it, yeah, I can hear that, you know, it doesn't intonate 100% perfectly. Well, it's not going to because of the way the bridge works on the guitar. Okay, so that being said, there's a couple other things about guitar setup that you got to think about before you just go out and start buying parts and assuming that it's bad. Okay, and one of them is the way a guitar is set up in the first place. Now, like a Telecaster, for instance, this has a 12-inch radius on the neck. And when we build all of our guitars, kind of our stock guitar that goes out the door has a 12-inch neck on it unless somebody orders it otherwise. And here's why. It still has enough radius that you can do all the vintagey, kind of classic-y kind of stuff. If you like a 7 1/4, you might not like it, but a 9 1/2 guy or a 10 guy can go to a 12 without any kind of real problems. A beginner guitar player or someone who is less experienced has an easier time fretting the notes. Okay, so those are some kind of just very easy reasons to get a 12-inch radius on a guitar. The other reason is because anytime we play the note, this isn't even having anything to do with the setup on the guitar, the parts, how the thing is made, any of that. Anytime we play a note on a guitar, we press down on the note, the pitch, the perfect pitch of, say, this G string in an open G like this, and then when we press down on it, we pull the string, we change the length of the string, because when we pull it down to the fret, it changes the length of the string, it changes the tension relationship between this side, and therefore the note that we play, depending where it is on the neck, may not be a perfect note. Have you ever done that? Have you ever said, okay, I'm going to tune this G 100% perfect, and then I'm going to play the G at the 12th fret, and it's 100% perfect because I have it intonated properly. But then if I come down here to the 4th fret and I press down, it's not 100% perfect. Here's a couple of things that can have a major effect on that. First of all, one, that's just the way a guitar is. But two, the height of our action has a huge deal to do with it, okay? The height of the action, because how far we pull the string away from perfect pitch when we pull down on the string has a lot to do with it. So a flatter radius fretboard is going to pull less. Kind of theoretically, it just depends on the bridge setup and stuff. But you pull less on the string, okay? Also, if your string height is not uniform to the fretboard radius, so down here, if you don't have the saddle set correctly, then you could be pulling one note one distance and another note a whole nother distance. Now here's a trick. If you have one string that is 100% out all the time, a lot of people have problems with the G string not being 100% intonated with the rest of the strings that are on the guitar. What if you change the string height of that one string that gives you trouble, and so that you pull it at a different rate? You can either lower it or raise it in relation to the other ones. It might feel funny to play at first, but the chances are you could actually change that a little bit, okay? The angle of the saddles, how far it pulls back versus forward. This has a lot to do on a bolt-on neck guitar, depending on the angle of the neck. So if you have a shim in it, or if you don't, or if it needs a shim or it doesn't. So what I'm saying is, anything where you're actually pulling the string away from its idle position like this, the further you pull it, the more difference it's going to make away from perfect pitch. Now, because we play a guitar that way, it's always going to be that way. But the fretboard radius, the saddle height right here, and the overall action can have a lot to, or the overall string height can have a lot to do with it. As well as, remember that your truss rod adjustment is your baseline for all of that. So if you've lots of relief in the neck, you're already pulling on the string further than you should, okay? Now there are going to be some setups where you're going to really require high action, but it seems like those styles of music are a little more forgiving. You know, a lot of of course, slide players, you don't really press down that hard on it, so you go with a higher action. Some of the kind of gnarlier, raunchier kind of guitar tone that requires a higher action isn't so precise on all your intonation and stuff. So it's a give and a take thing. Don't just think that because the intonation isn't 100% perfect. Don't just think that because you're having textbook, it's not perfect, doesn't mean that it doesn't work for you in your setup, okay? And that being said, when you're playing with other musicians and stuff, you kind of all have to know where you're going to be and cooperate on that stuff. But just know that you don't just have to run out and buy parts. You don't have to just run out and change everything about your guitar to make it work right. Chances are a good setup is going to get you 99% of the way. And then depending on what you're using in the rest of your signal chain, it's possible that it's good enough the way it is. My feeling is I just don't like to go spend money on little gadgets and trickery on my guitar before I actually go there first, okay? And as an extension of the Dylan Talks Tone radio show last night when we were talking about that, you'll see if you go watch that replay or listen to that replay on kprlive.com, that it's episode 4, I think, that there was a way that James Taylor corrected his tuning. The thing is, it works really well for his playing style, but I tried it and I didn't like it at all because my playing style and because of my setup, it just didn't work for me. So don't just take a rule that you hear on the internet and take it as law. Remember that the guitar setup and all that stuff, and mostly the way you play and what you want to hear. And remember that if it's a little rough around the edges, that may be part of the appeal of your guitar tone. Remember that distortion and feedback and all that kind of stuff, those are undesirable qualities that we have figured out how to make into music. And so the harmonics of imperfect tuning, of imperfect pitch, are a thing. It really is a thing. Not that you want to be out of tune and sound terrible, but the fact that the guitar by nature is imperfect is part of its appeal. So just remember that. My name is Dylan. This is Dylan Talks Tone. Please check out our internet radio show at kprlive.com, Dylan Talks Tone, every Monday nights, live at 9 Eastern Standard Time. And you're going to see from now on some of the content that's from there brought over here into a video format that I think you're really going to enjoy. So I hope you all enjoyed this, and leave some comments for me. I know not everybody's going to agree with my credo on imperfect guitar pitch is cool, but tell me what you think. All right? You all have a great day.